Cataclysm. That is the name of a level that everyone in this community knows. It is one of the most famous extreme demons of all time, and it has been an absolute staple in moving the community forward in terms of both discovering new legends and inspiring new, harder maps since its release in January 2015. But what if the level never existed at all? What if G-Boy had decided not to go down the route of hacking the level? What if this once impossible demon never even made its way into the community? What would the Geometry Dash community be like now? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at here. When planning this, my first step was to write down all the levels directly inspired by Cataclysm, then to create a sort of chain of events that would have been non-existent if Cataclysm was never released. And it certainly made for interesting reading. The first thing to realise is this. In 1.9, if Cataclysm had never come out, Ice Carbon Diablo X by Roadbows would have remained number 1 on the demons list, all the way till at least the start of 2.0. Many of us have now forgotten with the addition of harder levels, but in 1.9 there was a huge debate as to whether Cataclysm or Ice Carbon Diablo X was harder, until Riot seemed to end the debate by beating both of them and declaring Cataclysm the winner. But with no Cataclysm, Ice Carbon Diablo X would have remained completely unchallenged at the top of the list. Now, let's take a look at some of the levels Cataclysm inspired. Bloodbath. The main level Cataclysm was directly behind the inspiration of was Bloodbath, an extreme demon mega collab by a team of creators from Geostorm, which acted as the follow-up to Cataclysm. If nothing else, we know this simply because of how Bloodbath's theme is an immediate continuation of the segment of the Dim Rain song At the Speed of Light. So, with no Cataclysm, 1.9's biggest achievement and hardest level released would have not even been considered by the team, and so Bloodbath, one of the most famous extreme demons of all time, would have ceased to exist. On the subject of this, the main level Bloodbath inspired, the GS 2.0 Extreme Demon Mega Collab Yatagarasu, which was recently verified by Truster, would have never come out or even been conceived by Geostorm either. The Hell Factory. Another level that was particularly inspired by Cataclysm, that never would have made it out, was the Hell Factory, by the Korean creating team now called Team N2. While the Hell Factory is not as clear cut from Cataclysm as some levels are, the level did have a lot of similarities in gameplay, and it was designed to rival Cataclysm as a hell themed extreme demon, before failing to do this due to the publicity of Saturn's hacking of the level, which caused the level to be unrated. So with Cataclysm gone, it is likely that this level would not exist, and its subsequent 2.0 rebirth named The Hell Factory, which was verified legitimately and featured, would have never been released either. This has more connotations than you might think in itself. The whole reason Team N2 was created was because its main leader, Repel, needed the help of some of his friends to build his new extreme demon back in 1.9. The Hell Factory is the whole reason Team N2 was born, and with no Cataclysm there would have been no Hell Factory, and subsequently no Team N2. This would mean that Abazar Phantasm, one of the most popular extreme demons of 2.0, would have never been built or released, and furthermore, Newground artist Gukizan's songs would have never been brought into the Geometry Dash community the way they were. This would mean no use of Betrayal of Fate to inspire Wio Wio Tio's extreme former top 10 demon Betrayal of Fate, and even more than that, the lack of Betrayal of Fate would have meant that the community's most prominent creators would never have found Betrayal of Fear, the musical sequel by the same artist, and so it stands to reason that even Blade of Justice would have never existed as a result of Cataclysm not existing. So just from preventing the 1.9 unrated level, the Hell Factory, we have lost 3 extreme top 15 demons, the highest quality creating team in the community, one of the most controversial extreme demons of 2.0 and the hardest upcoming level in the history of the community, all because Cataclysm was never released. Sakupin Hell. The next level that would never have been released is Sakupin Hell. Now, I know this may seem far-fetched, but if you watch my Maps from Hell episode on Sakupin Hell, you'll know that the number 4 extreme demon was created strictly because Russian player Nubas wanted to see his own hacked extreme demon that was a challenge to Riot and Cyclic, rated, like Cataclysm had been. Without Cataclysm to drive this, Sakupin Hell would have never have been created, and this would probably actually mean that Truster wouldn't have risen to fame. While Truster had made his name from demons such as Red World, it was Sakupin Hell that really blew up his name, when he legitimately verified the once impossible level. This also provided the perfect job application for Truster to be handpicked by Serve to verify Yatagarasu. so maybe he wouldn't have gotten the chance ahead of someone like Nobbleboy or Aurorus. But then again, we've already speculated that without Cataclysm, even Yatagarasu would have likely never existed anyway. Infernal Abyss and Aftermath. Two other levels Cataclysm inspired were Infernal Abyss, which was originally intended to be a direct 2.0 sequel to Cataclysm by G-Boy, before being picked up by Manix and Bionox, and also Aftermath, a hacked Cataclysm Final Chapter remake by Xenity and a few others. While these two falling out of the plane of existence doesn't really impact the community much theoretically, it is interesting to consider. Now, let's take a look at some of the people and prosperous player careers Cataclysm inspired, instead of just the sequel levels it created. Cyclic. Cyclic was known as a skilled player and star grinder long before 1.9, but it was only when he became the first to beat Cataclysm, essentially proving to people that it wasn't impossible, that he began to be recognised as a top world-class player, instead of just a star grinder and a level grinder. While Cataclysm wouldn't have changed his rise to power too much, beating it certainly cemented the more godlike appreciation he had in this community. Riot. Riot is another player who made his name from Cataclysm and Cataclysm-related things. His beating of Cataclysm received a huge amount of attention. His completing of the level saw him become the perfect candidate to verify Bloodbath 2, which was the biggest testimony of all of just how miles ahead the rest of us Riot was. With no Cataclysm, there would have been no Bloodbath, and probably no opportunity for Riot to improve his straight flying skills because of it. He would still have been godlike among the community, however, as he would have beaten Ice Carbon Diablo X, which would have been his hardest demon, so we may have ended up perceiving Riot in the same light, but on a smaller scale and for different reasons. Serve. Serve is another player who rose to power through Cataclysm-related achievements. His main career boost was when he beat Bloodbath. This gave him the confidence and the popularity boost to go on to beat all 10 of the top 10 hardest demons. Without Cataclysm, there would have been no Bloodbath achievement, and maybe Serve would have continued to slip under the radar as an unnoticed player with lesser achievements. Now we move on to things that wouldn't have changed even if Cataclysm had never existed, and for me this is where it gets really interesting, as theorising becomes much harder and less clear-cut. Crazy Man 50. The first thing I found wouldn't be influenced by Cataclysm's removal is Crazy Man. Crazy is one of the best players in the world, yet none of his wide spectrum of achievements have ever been or been based around Cataclysm or Bloodbath. He has a hugely successful career as both a player and a creator, barely even touching these two levels in the process. And even when he has, they have made no impact on his career and big career achievements. With Crazy Man comes Crazy Man's levels. He's created quite a few levels, and none of them had anything to do with Cataclysm. The first level we will talk about is Conical Depression. This is an extension sequel to a challenge level called Sneezing Cats by him. While trivial, this ended up in a 46,000 attempt journey to verify the second hardest demon ever. But the thing is, the only thing ahead of Conical Depression making it second was Bloodbath, and if Bloodbath never existed, Conical Depression would have reached the number 1 spot on the list. As 7 months into 2.0, this would have been the first rated level to finally dethrone Ice Carbon Diablo X, which would have remained number 1 this whole time. Don't forget, at the time of Conical Depression's release, the only 3 levels above Ice Carbon Diablo X were Bloodbath, A Bizarre Phantasm, The Hell Factory, and Cataclysm itself, all of which have never existed in this case. So, by March 2016, the number 1 demon would be Conical Depression, with Ice Carbon Diablo X being moved down to number 2. The Ultimate Phase in Creeper Force making number 3 and 4, and Crimson Clutter likely making number 5. Now, if we compare the March 2016 top 5s with Cataclysm and without Cataclysm, we can see a staunch drop in difficulty. Cataclysm edged players on to become better players, and so harder things were developed. The next Crazy Man level that was unaffected by Cataclysm was Phobos. This extreme mega collab that we now know so well started off because of the Geometry Dash Gamers Likers page on Facebook, and not to rival any extreme demon like Bloodbath, so this would have definitely gone ahead even without Cataclysm. And presuming everything would have gone as it did with Tiger Isaac and Crazy Man, Phobos would have been legitimately verified and would have knocked Conical Depression off and become the hardest demon ever. At this point, Phobos would have replaced Bloodbath as the hardest extreme demon mega collab that topped the list. Only this time, it was a community mega collab as opposed to a Geostorm one. Ice Carbon Diablo X would now be down to third, and Phobos would be the undisputed king of demons, and with no serve it probably would have remained unbeaten for a pretty long time. But something else that would not have been affected by Cataclysm's removal, surprisingly, is Sonic Wave by Cyclic. Now, there are a lot of factors that Cataclysm may have changed to influence the building of this, but ultimately, when Cyclic first previewed this on his original channel, it was named Harder Than Poltergeist, the hardest 9 circles demon of that era. Even without Cataclysm and Sonic Wave's great rival Bloodbath, it is likely Cyclic still would have built Sonic Wave, as he hacked both versions, so it stands to reason that he wouldn't need Cataclysm to give him the skill boost to beat it. But even if Cyclic had released Sonic Wave, surely it wouldn't be out now, right? Sonic's was the first to beat it, and Blast CFB and Super X, the other two beaters, were all made by Bloodbath, and their progression to power through conquering the hardest demons. So it's likely none of them would have had the skill or even the notoriety to even bother attempting to verify it. So why am I talking about it? Well, there's someone else who could have verified it, Akan. And Akan is a very different player to most, in the fact that he actually built enough skill to beat Sonic Wave through progressing up the rank of 9 circles levels, rather than beating Bloodbath or Cataclysm. Akan was originally set to verify Sonic Wave back in mid-2016, but gave up after being demoralised by others trying to make a point of beating him to it. With no competition, it's likely he would have actually seen it through and verified the legendary circles. So, we can actually assume that, even without Cataclysm, Sonic Wave would have still been created, updated, verified and rated before taking the number 1 demon spot. Now, we have a much more interesting list to compare at this point, with a top 5 of Sonic Wave, Phobos, Conical Depression, Ice Carbon Diablo X and the Ultimate Phase stacking up against a top 5 of Bloodbath, Phobos, Conical Depression, A Bizarre Phantasm and the Hell Factory. For the relative time this may have all happened. I know we should be considering Red World Rebirth and Plasma Pulse 3 on both lists, but don't forget Riot might not have even been around to verify Red World Rebirth, as Smokes might not have had the skill after not beating Cataclysm to verify a level much harder than it. After this period, Bloodbath and Cataclysm stopped being so key to every level created, and we began to see more original extreme demons emerging, like Audio Extraction, Breakout, Athanatos and even Artificial Ascent, though in my mind this is definitely questionable, as it was built by the people who made Bloodbath to be harder than Bloodbath, and was verified someone who made their name on Bloodbath and Scoop and Hell, all of which would have not been possible without Cataclysm, so I think it's unlikely Artificial Ascent would have made it out for these reasons. To conclude, if Cataclysm had never been released, Ice Carbon Diablo X would have remained the number 1 demon throughout 1.9 and into 2.0. Some 4 updates after it was released, Ice Carbon Diablo X would finally be moved down to number 2 by Conical Depression, which would have retained the number 1 spot for a while. Phobos would have then come in and taken over. We can only speculate whether Geostorm would have had the initiative to create Artificial Ascent in 2.0, but something else that would have come out is Athanatos. Athanatos would have probably been number 1 for a while, but with Aftermath's removal, Xenity may have not had enough viewers or popularity to generate any hype and get it noticed by Aurorus to verify it and in turn have it featured. With the induction of Hatred, Conical Depression would be 5th as opposed to 10th where it is in real life. While Hatred and Cataclysm are unrelated, however, you could argue that beating Cataclysm was the thing that set off a chain reaction to give Sagaesta the skill and confidence to beat Hatred. Without Cataclysm, there would have been no Bloodbath, meaning no Yatagarasu, meaning no Bloodlust, which probably means no Serve. There would have been no Hell Factory, which means no Team N2, no A Bizarre Phantasm, and no Artificial Ideology. Also, that means no Blade of Justice. No Sakup in Hell, no Truster, and no Combined, and no Riot and Cyclic rivalry. Riot would likely have been the best player because of Ice Carbon Diablo X, but he would be neck and neck with Crazy Man at this point. Cyclic would have continued to be a star grinder with some skill like Lunar Swing, despite Sonic Wave being built. The top 5 demons would be Sonic Wave, Athanatos, Phobos, Hatred and Conical Depression. The top 3 players would be Crazy Man 50, Akan and Riot, and the only hardest upcoming demons would be Sonic Wave Rebirth and Fusion Z. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have a scenario you'd like me to analyse in an episode, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue this. I will, however, if it gets positive reviews. So if you really want to see another one, don't be afraid to tell me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.